SOSers, welcome back.
Welcome back.
We have a good one. We were going to do this at top of January because it's just an overview of 2021, what is to come. However, there was a lot of stuff happening,
Really?
Insurrection, inauguration.
Oh, right. Crazy.
New Year's, just a lot. And so we're doing it now. And our guest today, she's a third timer now. She's our most recurring guest. She is one of our most popular episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can call her our resident astrologer, Jordan Shomer.
We love her. Just did a reading with her. Please reach out to her at Jordan Shomer. We're going to plug more things with her at the end of this, but we're going to go into basically like this new age of Aquarius and like what that even means and how we can adapt. Yeah, and what 2020 was and all these years prior and future that we can basically dissect and what to look forward to and what to look out for. So,
yeah. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
We're here
to SOS with our resident astrologer.
You all know her?
Can I say that? Because you're like a third timer now.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Please say that.
Yeah. You know her. You love her. It's Jordan Shomer.
Yes, it is. And if there's ever been a period of time where we all need clarity and answers and understanding of what the F is going on in the universe, it's been the past 12 months, basically. And also, Jordan and I are both Aquarians. Yeah.
Aquarians.
And we are in the age of Aquarius, and I kind of want to just once and for all understand what that means. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is that shift in broad strokes for those people who are like, don't know anything?
Okay. So there is some discrepancy around the quote unquote age of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
What we are in now is an age of Aquarius.
Oh.
It is the only age of Aquarius that we will see in our lifetime, because the grand age of Aquarius, there is no certainty of when that will be. It depends on when the cosmos sort of shift in a monumental way. It's when the equinoxes change and the solstices change from the seasons they're currently in. So that will happen a millennia from now.
Oh.
But this is the closest thing to an age of Aquarius that we will ever get.
But it is an age of Aquarius officially?
It is an age of Aquarius, but I think more specifically, we are moving into an air age, an age that is rooted in the priorities of the air element.
Yes, we love that.
We love that.
So air signs are Aquarius, Libra, and what's the other
Gemini.
one? Gemini. Okay. So I heard, I don't remember where I read this, but that earth signs may be having a particularly difficult time with a shift into a time of air.
Well, you heard that from me.
Oh, I did? Oh, I thought it was...
A little birdie told me.
Wait.
Quote me back to me under the Leo full moon. Can I even?
I once heard from my favorite astrologer that
a legend once said.
Gorgeous astrologer.
Radiant. Oh my God, she's beautiful. It's really not about her astrology skills. I just like to look at her.
My day has been made. We're doing this under a Leo full moon.
Oh, perfect.
I know, I saw that.
It is like the most extra full moon ever.
Oh, wow.
So
right now, like tonight?
It happened at I'm doing time math at 11 a.m. Your time.
Okay. January 28th is when we're recording this, so people know.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, interesting.
But yes, I would say that as we are moving into this air age, and these ages are 200-year cycles. And they are represented by the coming together of the planets Saturn and Jupiter. They come together every 20 years in the sky, and for 200-year cycles, they come together in the same element. So for the last 200 years, we've been seeing Saturn and Jupiter come together in Virgo, and then in Capricorn, and then in Taurus,
All
and
the earth
over and over and
signs.
over again. And this cool thing happens. Well, first, when Saturn and Jupiter come together, they set the priorities of the time or the era. They are considered the chronocrators of time, and they keep sort of like the vibes and like the vibration of the priorities of the collective. And so at the very end of each 200-year period, they sort of give us a little 20-year taste of what to expect in the next cycle. So in 1980, Saturn and Jupiter came together in the sign of Libra. And between 1980 and 2000, we saw this burst of sharing ideas, technology boom, the internet was born, and this quick interface between people was happening during that time. And then Saturn and Jupiter came together in Taurus in 2000, and they were immediately like, all right, how do we make money off this?
That's, yeah, like very earthly
Yes. But
values.
Saturn and Jupiter came together on December 21st of 2020, so just a little over a month ago, and moved us into this air age. And no living, breathing human being who's on the earth right now has ever seen a shift this monumental.
Wow.
Really?
Yes. And the way I am seeing it is we're in the future.
Yeah.
Like we've entered the future, and the expected outcome of certain patterns or certain circumstances we've seen in the past might not look the same as they do looking forward, because we are working with different circumstances. We're working with different energy entirely.
Yeah.
So is it like a collective shift in value? Like how, you know,
Yes.
like I know there's way more to earth signs than like materialism or whatever. I'm like really boiling it down like that. But like, is there going to be a massive shift from like just focus on capitalism and money and values and material things to what? Like
So-
intellect or?
Intellect, science, technology, community, ideas, innovation is all being sort of embedded in the bedrock of our collective right now. Like I think back to all the way back to the air age or the earth age, which was a resounding month and a half ago. And the way I think about it is like, you know, we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl.
Like I think of Logomania in like the early 2000s with like
Yes.
fashion brands and stuff. It was just like
Juicy
just
couture.
bling and flashy and logos everywhere and like, yeah, that's what it makes me think of.
But the priorities of the world that we have always known, this earth world, is that of structure, is that of hierarchy, is that of government and
Power.
organizations and power in a centralized way, in a contained sort of for the few kind of way.
Elitist.
Yes. And the energy of this air age, which because the air age begins in Aquarius, that's really the permeating air energy, I feel like is all about decentralization. Aquarius is the sign of equality, and for better or for worse. Like Aquarius is the sign that says we all have a duty to the collective, and all of our responsibility is equal.
Yes.
And it's not about who has the status, who has the money, who has the power. If anything, this is sort of the rumblings and the pricklings of the awakening of the people and understanding their power. And I think that we'll probably see more of that starting in like 2022, 2023, when the planet Pluto moves into Aquarius.
Yeah.
Because Pluto is really soul energy. It's like, it's the deepest, most penetrating energy, and represents power and represents control.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are there
So I feel like power to the people is very much like, even we're seeing in the circumstances of this year, the conversations around bringing down these big powerhouse hierarchical structures that we have operated within, which are really upholding systems of oppression and capitalism and greed and rampant individualism, this is mine and, you can't have any. That sort of like hoarding mentality is also very earthly.
Yeah.
Like a lack mentality.
Scarcity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too of just like, because, we're all air signs and we're just like, fuck yeah, this is our time. This is going to be fucking great. And maybe this is a question for those who are like more pessimistic or earth signs. Like, were there any positive to the era that we were just getting out of? And are there negatives to this era, this age of Aquarius that we should also look for?
So first I'll say the reason why I feel like moving into this new energy, moving into the future is most difficult for earth signs is because we have lived for our entire existence in this life in a world built in their image. And it is comfortable to see yourself reflected in the world around you. Whereas us as air signs, I think that we have a mutual understanding of times where we have like looked around us and we're like, why? Why is it? Why? For what?
Yep.
Literally my diary.
And I think it's a process of uprooting for earth signs. It's a process of relinquishing control. It's a process of accepting that things are changing and churning and they're going to look different from the comfort and security of being seen, being reflected everywhere.
And also, so the positives, I know it's like positive and negative, but like more like it could go this way or that way versus, but like the positives of the age that we were in previously, like an earth time, is stability and security, because that's like an earth sign type of thing, right? And so that is a comfort, even for those of us who aren't earth signs. Like in general, humanity likes some level of stability and security. So if you're looking at like what we might want to watch out for, not like a negative or this is going to happen, it's bad, but like what are the parts of entering an air era that could be tricky to navigate? Yeah.
So first, because of the current astrology, we currently have like the South Node, which is our collective soul, our collective destiny, the energy that we're trying to move away from in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the sign that really cages things as good or bad, right or wrong. And that's what we're trying to move away from. So I am not going to use that language when talking about the past era or the future era, just because I don't think that it
doesn't exist.
It doesn't serve us. Yeah. I think that speaking on nuance and speaking on context rather than what is good, what is bad is one, supporting the energy that we're moving through and also learning from.
Yeah. Amen.
But looking back at the Earth era, resounding month and a half ago.
We're so young.
we were brought to where we are now. In the last 200 years, we have expanded what is possible for human beings to do, how we are able to materialize our desires and materialize our comforts in a way that are sort of reliable and predictable. We've built the world around us from the Earth age. And with that came a whole lot of things that we are now needing to dismantle.
Yeah.
And not to say that capitalism was necessarily like born in just the last 200 years. You know,
but it was supported. Everything that was created from that time supported it.
It has become the most pervasive force for our country, especially for America. And so I don't necessarily think that it serves us to like look back through the lens of like what was good, what was bad, because how can we, that's not as workable as it is like everything that happened before brought us to where we are now. And now we're in this period of shifting and changing and evolving.
And is it kind of like an open-mindedness that's collectively going to happen more of like kind of like waking up or having more awareness of
an awakening?
Yeah.
And I think that like, not to say that there isn't the potential for sort of the forces of an air age to work against the favor of the collective. I was just talking with my mentor about this, and she was saying, you know, that she was a little bit concerned about.
Are you talking about Ambi?
I'm talking about Ambi.
She's the resident astrologer on That's So Retrograde, and that's one of my favorite podcasts.
Yes, she's the best. And we were chatting because we do once a month. And we were talking about the insurrection and how all of that was organized on the internet. And the potential for these dark networks and like for the internet to be used to perpetuate, you know, polarizing beliefs or beliefs that uphold systems and structures that we are meant to kind of let crumble.
Yeah. And the internet is such a like Aquarian.
The internet is Aquarius.
Right? Yeah.
And like the other thing about Aquarius is, yes, it's very tolerant. It's very open-minded. It's very sort of like zoomed out to take in the full context. Aquarius energy is very like scientific and just wants to know like what was the circumstance where things happen? What was the context to understand why? The whys.
Oh my God. My whole life when I'd get in trouble, it was like, I just want to know why, or like someone be explaining something to me. I remember it would really annoy my parents at times, or like teachers. They tell me, "No, it's this. Just move on from here." And I'm like, "No, but I can't go there because I want to know why."
But why?
Literally, my favorite word is why. But the other thing about Aquarius is the energy of the othered. Aquarius is so zoomed out that it observes the collective from a place of feeling othered, feeling on the outskirts.
Interesting.
And so there is this potential for those who feel marginalized, not by the systems and structures of the Earth era, but by the awakening that is taking place within the collective as far as humanity goes, as far as the well-being of us all on an equal level goes.
Yeah.
And just like witnessing the circumstances of the insurrection and seeing the astrology of that. Like I was watching the news and also watching the chart of the moment and being like,
interesting. See, that's so interesting to me. Well, and something that I don't know if like all of our listeners know, and I've only recently learned because one of my best friends is an astrologer. But
a gorgeous astrologer.
A gorgeous, sexy, luminous astrologer. With a hairpin. Show me your hairpin right now. The moon. Those of you who are watching on YouTube.
I mean, come on.
I, learned that any event, like historical events, have a chart because anything that happens on whatever day or time has an actual chart. And I didn't know that. And so that's fascinating to me. And it makes me think like, I don't know if you have, because I know you, but like looked into the coming months or whole entire year. But are there certain, and just to be clear for listeners, like it's not like a predict the future type of thing. That's not what I'm saying, because I know that's not what it is. But you can see certain things, like I don't know what it is, but there's some energy shift on this date or this date. And like, is there anything that we can look out for? Any specific dates, or like in the coming, not even whole year is overwhelming, but like February or March, you know?
Yeah. So this year is themed by a particular battle taking place in the sky. We have
Interesting.
Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn rules structure, rules tradition, rules hierarchy. And then we have Uranus over in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of upheaval, of change, of innovation, and of awakening. And these planets are facing off all year long. The specific dates of that, I've got my clipboard of dates.
Yes.
Of course.
The specific dates of that are February 17th, June 14th, and December 24th. Though these planets Christmas Eve, though these planets are sort of like facing off in different capacities throughout the year. So it's really the permeating theme. And the way I feel into it is like, it's really the old guard versus the new. It is what is versus what is possible.
Which is really interesting, because even when you look at that in the current, like Biden and Harris, that is the old guard versus the new. Biden is 70-something-year-old white male, even though he's like Democratic and blah, blah, blah. But like, that's the old guard. We have a female of color, and they're in the same administration, and they're working together. But it's interesting that we have like an actual faces
like
to
a
it.
physical
in the
representation of the battle.
Physical representation of like classic old white man running the country. And then woman, never been done. Like woman of color, never been done. Like all these things in the same frame.
And also progressives getting more of a voice now that we have more control of the government, you know, and like what exciting things that possibly, hopefully could happen.
Right. Well,
so those specific dates that you mentioned, are those dates of like, they're just dates of intensified, of the theme of the whole year, but it's intensified on those days?
Yes. That's when the aspect, it's called an aspect when these planets are sort of like in relation to each other. That's when the aspects are exact. But these planets move very slowly. So they're sort of dancing through this space all year long. And so I'm going to plug this for real at the end, but I, on the 1st, launched an Astrology of 2021 course.
January 1st.
On January 1st. And my collaborator and I were talking through just like the general collective themes of this upcoming year. And this year is a battlefield in a lot of ways. And we kind of said in our delineation, and note that this dropped on the 1st.
Okay. So people can still go back.
Yeah, it lasts all year long. Like it's a companion piece, so you can use the insight of the course throughout the year.
Amazing. I need to do that.
But as we were talking about this battle taking place, we mentioned that not the last time, but one of the last times that this has happened, this face-off, was during the Civil War. And that
great.
It doesn't,
I remember that.
We were like, it doesn't necessarily like, we're not saying that there's going to be a civil war, but like Civil War vibes.
Yeah. Great.
And then
is going to happen.
And then look.
You literally said that because the last time we had you on was, I think, one day before George Floyd's murder.
And you're like,
I think it was literally 24 hours before.
Yeah, and you're like, we're taking to the streets soon. And we're like,
And you literally were like, there's some kind of like you said, you always disclaim, and like, I know it's not a future prediction, this will happen, but you used the word revolution, and you were like, there's some type of like, I don't know, but I something is going to happen. I don't know how it's going to manifest 24 hours before George Floyd's murder. And that, like, I know for our lifetime, not our parents' generation, because obviously they were here in the 60s, but like for our lifetime, so far, that's been the biggest moment like that around racial injustice. And it's been the 60s for us.
Yeah. Well, and it's, that conversation's not ending anytime soon.
No, it barely started.
If anything, the debts that our nation have are going to be paid one way or another in the next couple of years.
Wow.
But so the other thing, and like I said, this is not a prediction, but since I do tend to do a little like predicting on this podcast.
And you do tend to be spot on, let me just say.
Well, we'll see. And I'm not saying that this is going to be spot on whatsoever. I'm just saying based on past patterns, and also granted, we're in this air age where things operate differently. So how this has looked in the past might look different now. But historically, the president that is elected under the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, when Saturn and Jupiter come together, they tend to die in office.
Wait, they tend to what?
Die in office.
Yes, we talked about this.
Yes. So we've had 8 presidents die in office. 7 of them have died under the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. And just like we had this very revolutionary moment during Venus retrograde this summer. That was what we were talking about. We were talking about all of this Gemini energy. We had Venus retrograde in Gemini, and I was talking about how radical that was because right now Uranus, the planet of innovation and upheaval and radicalization, is in a sign ruled by Venus. And since Uranus has been in Taurus, which is a Venusian sign, all the Venus retrogrades have been radical. The first one was in fall of 2018 in the sign of Scorpio. And it coincided exactly with the Me Too movement, with the Brett Kavanaugh trials.
Oh, right,
and it was all of those conversations around sexual assault and what it is to be a woman in the world. And then we had this social upheaval and civil unrest in the summer during this Venus retrograde in Gemini. Then in December of this year, we have a Venus retrograde in Capricorn. And the dates for that, we'll be in the shadow of it on November 18th. It will officially start on December 19th, and then it will end January 29th of 2022. Capricorn rules the government. Capricorn rules institutions, it rules hierarchy, it rules the structures and the systems that keep us in line. It sets the status quo. And I know that myself and a number of other astrologers really have our eye on that period of time. Not to say it is a prediction of like anything that is going to happen to Biden, but I do think that something major will be happening within our corporations, our government, our institutions.
You know what? Like, it kind of makes sense that our first... I'm not like wishing anything on Biden like that at all. To be clear, I know you're not either. I just want to say that because, people are weird. But if that happens, if something bad happens to him, it's like our country hasn't yet been ready, apparently, to have a female leader. And the first time it happens might have to be in a forced situation.
By default.
Like, honestly, yeah, by default. And then, because even if, like, and I haven't been thinking in terms of like, oh, Biden's going to kick it while he's in office. But I just mean, even if he doesn't, I do think that Kamala could be the next president. And then I think maybe AOC could come after her. And then, but like, I do, I do think that is possible. But in 4 years, I don't think people are ready for it right now. And that's why, like, if something happens to Biden, she's it. And then I think I really have faith in her. I feel like she would prove that, like, what we all know to be true, but like women can and should be in these positions too. But it's like the kind of thing that people need to be forced into seeing before they can actually picture it because people are ignorant and like sexist.
Well, and that's like, we are working with energy right now, and it's clear, it has been for the last like 10 months or so, that with the North Node in Gemini, where our collective destiny is right now, Gemini is a sign that believes what's right in front of them. Even with COVID, people are like, well, I don't know anyone who's died but from COVID, so it must not be a thing. If I have to see it to believe it, is sort of the vibe of that.
Right.
And
even when they do see it and they think, oh, someone had it, well, they're fine.
Yeah. But I think that what we're moving into as far as the future is concerned, and I might have said this on the last podcast, but anyway, like the vibes of 2021, I feel like on a deeper level, like the meaning behind the battlefield that we're kind of navigating is a cosmic call and an awakening to the radical notion that everything that has been created can be recreated.
Yeah.
That everything is made up.
Yeah.
Money isn't real.
Money isn't real. The stock market isn't real. Economy isn't real. Some white man at some point was like,
Borders?
you know what?
Borders? Like when you, like, you've heard, oh my gosh. What the heck? Astronauts say that, like, when as they're taking, like, their first mission and they're taking off and they're seeing Earth, like, from afar. And I remember this one woman said, she's like, we're looking at it. And at first we're all pointing out, like, that's my home. That's my home. Like, I see China. I see the United States. That's where and then she's like, as you get further and further away, it becomes, that's our home. Like, you look at the planet as one, and the closer you are to it, you're like, I see my, I see that's that and that, and you're naming it, and we're in this mindset of borders, and then you get further away, and then you realize, like, this is our home. There's borders. What? Like, all of this stuff is so made up.
Well, and something I love about Aquarian energy, I mean, if I do say so myself,
Me too,
is that when it comes to Aquarius's understanding of the collective, there is this inherent knowing that we are never in disconnection with each other. We are connected by the everlasting ties of existence. And sometimes Aquarians can be seen as distant or cold because that energy is not heartfelt. There doesn't need to be a heart level connection to someone to know that we are in connection.
That's my number one critique I've received in relationships, is that I'm cold-hearted.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what? I would never categorize, but I don't know if it's because I'm a Nair sign that gets it, that like I would never perceive it, but I don't know.
I don't think that I am either, but I know it can be perceived that way. Like, if what you're saying, Jordan, it's like, if you don't really, because Alyssa, like, you get me.
Yeah.
Like, it's people who really do, but it can be perceived that way if it's misunderstood.
But Jordan, I mean, completely get it.
I'm a cold, hard bitch.
Like, the most opposite. Well, it's interesting because we're talking about like how everything can be recreated, and I wonder how capitalism can even survive in this time. And you're not a psychic, but like, what the fuck? It gives me like,
no
what
fucking
the
way.
What the fuck is gonna happen? Like, what's gonna happen?
So that, I feel like, is the biggest takeaway or lens to sort of go into this future age with, because what happens, what shifts, what changes on a collective level might feel really bad. You know?
Love it.
When we bring capitalism down, it also brings down our immediate gratification of getting all the things we want.
Right.
Of security.
Of accumulating all of our stuff. And also it's destabilizing because we live in this material world as material girls, being conditioned to believe that the money we acquire, the things that we have, and the status that comes with that is a reflection of our wealth or our worth.
2020 like gave a taste of that to all of us because we were all just so caught up in the rat race, and literally couldn't get out. And well, I say that, but like we could have, but if you do, you're alone in it. So this was they forced the whole world to get out of it, or the whole country at least, because we're still dealing with it because we didn't deal with it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like this whole thing of like, oh my God. And what I'm glad to say that I've noticed is that, you know, in the summer of 2020 and even into the fall, I was hearing a lot more of the people say, when it's back to normal, and I'm really not hearing that anymore. And I think it's like people are finally adjusting to the fact that, like, I know what we mean by that. We kind of mean like when we can go see people. Like, yes, that will happen again. But I don't hear people using that phrase because I think everyone's wrapping their minds around like, okay, it's gonna look different no matter what it is. And we're becoming okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have 5 more years of Uranus in Taurus. And what that means for us as a collective, even beyond the like Saturn being involved, with Uranus in Taurus, we see economic upheaval. We see upheaval in our resources. I think that food distribution is going to either look a lot different or become a lot more difficult. And then Taurus is values. Taurus is values. Taurus is also security. And we're seeing upheaval around what is important to us, what we are willing to fight for, but also an upheaval in the way that we seek comfort and the way that we seek security. It's in the stars that, like, what's coming up for us is a lot of discomfort. We have been rooted in the privilege of comfort because even if you don't have the resources, even if you know you're not part of the 1% and you're not super wealthy, there is this very like linear sort of like get a paycheck, get wealth, get a paycheck, feel worthy. And now we're moving into this age of air, and air is much more about impact than accumulation. And so we have to shift not only our values, our means of like seeking comfort and security, our ability to like live in a space that is uncertain is kind of like part of what we have to do in order to like wriggle free of this very like sturdy structure of Earth.
It's interesting because that you say it's air signs are more about impact than what'd you say? Impact than
acquisition or accumulation.
Yeah, because I remember when you did my chart reading, and I remember you saying that it was really interesting that as a musician or performer, someone in entertainment, that there wasn't any Leo, and you were like, I think that I can see that the purpose for you in all of this is like making, I don't know if impact is the word you use, but like being heard, like saying what you need to say as opposed to like being seen. I don't know how you worded it, but that reminded me of that, where it's like, it's this urgent need to like make an impact or a change or get a message across. That is the goal. The goal isn't once you've gotten that message across, what will you gain?
Right.
It's more just like the goal is to get the message across. And that's interesting to me when you take a macro view of it, like as an era in time, where it's probably going to be a weird adjustment because we're used to, okay, but what's the point? What's the end game? What do I get out of this? Because that's how we're programmed in an earth sign time previously, but like capitalism and especially. And so now for all of us to adjust to like, wait, I think it's not about what I get at the end. I think it's about what I do until I get to the end.
Yeah.
And that's like a collective shift.
How you satisfy your role in the collective.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about, when it comes to our role in the collective, it's not about our labor. It's about our purpose.
Yeah.
It's about giving our gifts to the world as an offering. Like, you can't really talk about Aquarius without talking about Leo because they are sister signs. Whenever we are working with Aquarius energy, it's staring directly at Leo. And Leo is the sign of worthiness. Leo is the sign that recognizes that we are special and we all have something to offer. And it's about knowing what you have to offer and then offering it as a gift, as an act of service. And if we're taking capitalism out of the equation, our work and our labor is really meant to be an offering to be of service to the collective, to give ourselves to something larger than ourselves.
So, and this kind of leads into, I wanted to end with a question of like, what can we all do, like, as to take full advantage of this time and to grow and to work with this shift in energy, no matter your sign, no matter whatever, but just what can we all focus on?
I think that asking a lot of questions to ourselves. Why do we do what we do? Why do we channel our energy in the places we channel them? Why do we work in the way that we work, and who does our labor serve? Asking these questions to untether ourselves from the insidious whispers of capitalism and finding our value and finding our worth outside of our work, and really kind of like burrowing down into ourselves and getting a sense of like, what, aside from making money, aside from like satisfying the expectations of society, what do I have to offer? What do I do that lights me up? Because that's where it is.
Yeah.
It's like where your inner flame shines is where your purpose resides.
Well, and that's what everybody got forced a little bit this year into looking at, like, oh, you don't have your high-powered job. I mean, you might have it, but you're at home. So, like, you don't have anyone to impress when you walk out the door. You don't go into this high-rise corner office, whatever situation that everyone attached their identity to. Even if you still technically have your job and you're working from home, it becomes a thing of like completely surrounded by mirrors at that point. And like, what do I get from this? And what am I giving to the world by doing this? As opposed to just like, if it kept rolling like it was, we're all still looking at like perception of other, oh, I look like I'm this high powered, I'm this, this is what it looks like. And now everybody was literally like, but what does it actually mean if I'm just home with my family and myself? Like, even if I'm making this money, what does it actually mean now?
Well, it's interesting. Oh no, sorry, go ahead.
It feels like 2020 set us up for 2021.
Yeah.
Like, and beyond. But it was like, I look at 2020 as a death where we were seeing many endings. And then when we're talking about death in astrology or in any sort of like energetic field, a death is an opening to a new beginning.
Never destroyed, only transformed.
Right. But so much was destroyed in 2020. So many lives were taken. So many jobs were, evaporated, but also so many long-standing beliefs, everyone's like, oh, we can't do this because of that, or that could never happen because of this. And then
we can't do this job from home.
Right. And then nature takes its course and a virus permeates the entire world. And all of a sudden, all these things are possible. And so I feel like 2020 was the obliteration. Oh, I love that word. It was the obliteration of so much in order to awaken us. And so now we're in this process of awakening, and it's not an overnight thing. But I think that leaning into this air energy by questioning everything you do, especially the things that you do on autopilot.
Yeah.
Because the like autopilot of it all, the conditioning of it all is really capitalism whispering sweet nothings in your ear every morning so you wake up and abandon yourself.
Oh,
Jesus. It's true.
That's so true.
Where's the lie?
No, it's
though?
so true. And like I was going to say before, it reminds me of what you're saying is like, as artists, and I can speak as an artist. And so I feel like for those people specifically, we've had to apologize for wanting to make an impact and not always making money when we need to, right? When we need to.
Well, and also even just saying I'm an artist, but not feeling as though you can claim yourself to be an artist unless you're making money.
Right.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? But then it's like, I didn't go into it to be this, well, that'd be great. But like, you know,
No, we know.
but like, it's such a mind fuck to now get into this age where like we can no longer, or we don't have to feel that we have to apologize for what we want to bring to this world, what we want to share, what we want to express.
Apologize or explain.
Right. Any form of that sounds like it has no place in this fucking year or in the next few years.
Well, and I think that's like such a strong, I don't know if it's an air sign thing or just in general, but like artists, like Jordan, we met the first day of college, like however many years ago. 14 years ago, many moons ago, like half our lives ago. And I remember, and Jordan and I, in our friend group, were pretty much the only, she was a theater major and I was a music major. And everyone else is like business or accounting or like something logical. And Jordan is one of like 3 people from college that I really, you're like one of my best friends still and always will be. But I
always
do wonder,
forever.
always and forever. I do wonder like what that thing in an artist, that it's some common thread that bonds you with somebody, because it's not about what art form you're doing. It's this understanding of there's something bigger here. And I am trying to illustrate it or articulate it in whatever my art form may be. But I say this, I know it sounds unrelated to astrology, but I'm thinking of like an air sign era that we're entering, or like a world where it's kind of a macro vision of like, maybe you're in theater, or I'm an R&B singer, or someone's a painter, or someone's a dancer. Doesn't matter, because what you're really all trying to do is convey the human experience and the reality of the world as a whole in whatever languge you speak.
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
using the language of astrology.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that part of that, it's funny because, like, you know, I am me and I'm like, you know, whatever, weird or strange or the best or gorgeous. But my friend recently just offhandedly described me as living out of the matrix. And I think that that's part of it.
That's the best compliment.
Yeah, that's so good.
Right?
That should be your tagline on your
Which
Instagram.
is true, but is also why I'm bad at being a real person. But luckily I'm an astrologer, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that that's part of it. Like, there is this like mentality of wanting to make an impact regardless of the simulation happening. It's like,
because
you have
it is
to,
a simulation.
right. It's like we're breaking the script, you know, and we're improvising in a way that is not necessarily celebrated by the fall in line, do what you're supposed to, hit your milestones, you know, make something of yourself by accumulating wealth and stuff and whatever. Yeah. And I think for an artist, there needs to be some level of accepting, kind of like dipping in and out of the matrix. Or just like living, or just like floating above it altogether.
And there's like this misunderstanding, I think, with that, where people from the outside might think like, oh, you're just trying to be contrarian, or you're trying to be different, or you're trying to be difficult. And because I remember, like, I know I was a little bit rebellious, but like I respect and I've always like loved my parents, but like I broke rules and did stuff where I was just like, and with the most respect and love for them, it wasn't that. It's like this need to challenge the world's assumed statements. Like,
yes, yeah.
When you're 15, you shouldn't do this. And it's like,
but why?
Why?
And even like, again, you know, with some kids I know it's like directed at their parents, but like, you guys know me, like my parents are like my best friends, and it wasn't even that. It's just like, but I know I'm told what 15-year-olds are supposed to be capable of, or what we are supposed to be allowed to do. But like, I just don't know why. Like maybe I'll do it and then I'll understand why and that we're right, but maybe not. And so I feel like this age of Aquarius, hopefully, is people starting to, like you said, question everything and at least explore. Maybe you question it and then you come up with like, no, we were socialized correctly in this sense. Okay.
Yeah.
But like question it, just ask.
And I think Aquarius is also the sign that's associated with like groups of like-minded people. And when we're working with Aquarian energy, it's about finding your people. It's about finding where you belong. And like, you know, I do a lot of writing. Like that's outside of client work, that's one of the main things that I do. But if anyone asked me about grammar or like that sort of shit, I think grammar is oppressive. And if any
really
like
is.
scholarly what's it?
Listen, Jordan, my Virgo rising will come correct on that because
But
Oh
it's
my
like,
God, I forgot.
if I would not be hired by like, you know, some scholarly journal to do writing because that's not the kind of writing that I do. But when I write for Ambi or if I write my own content, I know that like my run-on sentences are part of conveying meaning. It's all about conveying meaning. And I don't give a fuck about what kind of like
Structure.
word salad collage
Yeah.
that looks like, as long as it resonates with people. And so I needed to
Word
find
salad
a place.
collage.
Yeah, I needed to find a place where I belong and where my skills are valued and I'm not being caged into something that I'm not.
Yeah.
But it's like know thyself so that you can look around you and see where you fit into the groups, the networks, the collective at large.
And like you communicating in your natural state, however that may be, if it's a run-on sentence or who cares, you're going to naturally reach people who obviously if you are this way, there's millions of people who are the same and you're going to reach them and you're going to reach people who don't even think like that because you're communicating authentically.
Yeah. It's like you're catching a big net.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My friends call it my poetic rambling.
It's very like the things that you say are so poignant and a lot of your statements like hit really hard because you're very poetic, you're very thoughtful, you're very intelligent. And so there's things that where it's like when that's part of capitalism, like perfectionism and
It
just
sure
has to be
is.
has to be this way, it has to be. And I know grammar is real. I get it. I love languages. I'm a writer. I love books. Like grammar is real. It's close to my heart.
Yeah, no, but it's just
like
that's
at the
me,
end of the day,
you know.
Yeah. It's just like it's a structure, and then once you understand the structure, as you do, you then become yourself with it, which means you can choose to disregard certain things. That's what poetry is. They don't have accurate punctuation.
Well, and I know that all of the passion in my writing evaporates when I'm thinking about sentence structure.
Yes.
And so I need to know in order to uphold my integrity, I have to do it my way.
Right.
And I need to find people, places, and platforms in order to support my poetic ramblings.
Yeah. Well, this is
I
the
love that.
platform.
Woo!
Also,
Yes.
Jordan, so I know you have a couple things to plug for our audience, and I would love you to drop it here, and for me and Alyssa included, because I want to take your courses. I want to follow along with your program. So what's going on?
Yeah, and I just had her. She just gave me my chart reading, so I can't recommend enough. Like, please reach out to Jordan for a reading.
We had so much fun.
So much fun.
I gotta do another one soon.
Yes. Well, first, you can always find me on Instagram. That is where I shine, at Jordan Shomer. I am still writing for Soul Astrology, which is a astrology membership site. It's like $11 a month, and you get a ton of astrological insight. I write about
It's
all
incredible.
of the transits.
And you explain it in a very poetic, rambling way, but
Sure
very
do.
like, it's very approachable. It's like people, if this episode is interesting to you and you've never really thought about astrology or don't know that much about it, check out Jordan's articles on Soul Astrology because it's approachable. That's not a science. We're all related to it. It's an actual science, and we are biological beings, so we're all related to it the way that like the ocean is related to the moon and the tides. Like why are we not? Of course, we're related to the sky.
Yeah, and if you want to get like a taste of some of my writing or some of the articles, there are a few on like the public domain. So if you just go to soulastrology.com, there are a few articles. One is about like the planetary days. Every day is associated with a planet and how to harness that energy. And then also what it feels like when the sun is moving through your chart. Those are pretty basic articles just to give you a little flavor. And then I launched my first astrology course. It's the Astrology of 2021, broken into 3 sections. We talk about the collective impact of 2021, what we can see on a national level, a collective level. And then the meat of the course is we walk through sign by sign. So based on your rising sign, what's really happening for you.
Wait, based on your rising, not your sun sign?
No, because your rising sign is the sign that starts like the houses in your chart.
Oh.
And so we're talking about like the Saturn Uranus square and what that means for you because of your rising sign. So it's a more personalized kind of like walkthrough. And then the last section is a live recording of like Be Your Own Astrologer. And we talk about how to bring even more personal impact and personal influence into the information we lay out in the second part.
Awesome.
And I've gotten a lot of great feedback on that. It's a companion piece, like I said. So like we have it broken up by season. So you can hop in at any point. You'll have everything available for you. And it is, let me say, very affordable, as in we've learned lessons about pricing for this.
Yes.
So get it while you can, because next year's course will not be this affordable.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I always do a shout out to the skeptics in these astrology episodes, because I come from like a very, like, my dad's a biologist, like my very science-based, logical family. And I'm the same in a lot of ways. Like, I'm very much into this stuff, and I'm an artist. So I'm very much the black sheep of the family, but also not. So I see both sides. And I do want to say
Libra moon.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. But like, I know there's a lot of people who just hear astrology and they're like, bleh, whatever, bleh. But like, it's an actual science. And I will say, even if you don't believe that or whatever, if you do, like, say they jump in your course, or even like read a couple articles, or just Google for like 20 minutes, you will start to, like, the amount of things that align that you think are, it's just a fluke. And everyone thinks about like horoscopes in magazines, and those are so generic. It's like, that's not even what it's about. And people need to understand that. But like, the things that I have learned from you, Jordan, in personal readings, also just in regular conversation, also on your Instagram, it's too much to be a fluke. I swear to God. Like, there are things, and I'll text Jordan sometimes like, this just happened. Is this a thing? Like, what? And every time, it's not random. It's not like, oh, maybe this could be this. It's very specific, scientific. This is what's in the sky. This is what this means. And these themes in the world are real. Like, we're all made of the same thing that anything in the universe is made of. Our bodies are physically made of that. And so I encourage people to just like open your mind a little bit if you're feeling like closed off to this.
Yeah. And if you're not, that's okay too.
That's okay. And you're definitely not an Aquarius.
If you're not feeling it, that's okay. We can still be friends. I'm not in the business of like, quote unquote, converting people.
I'll convert people for your cause.
Yeah.
But when it's something, I'm the same as you, where I'm like, don't worry about it. If you don't like R&B, it's fine.
Yeah.
But when it's like my best friend's thing, I'm like, you all need to be on.
I think what astrology, I think the biggest takeaway or the biggest benefit from astrology, oftentimes people assume that they come to an astrologer or they read their horoscope or they engage with astrology to find answers. And astrology doesn't provide answers. It provides the right questions so that you can co-create with your destiny and with your free will the answers to those questions. It gives context, it gives meaning, but it is not a place to find answers.
It gives like validation to things that you already know.
Yep.
For the answers you've already come up with, where you're like, oh, that's crazy. That could have, validating, yes. You know exactly.
Because at my first reading with you, I was like, there are certain sides of me that I thought were disjointed, and I had to figure out, am I this or am I this? Like, which is it? And then I had that reading with you, and it was like external validation of like, no, you are all of these things, and that's just what it is. And more. And that's it. End of sentence. And I was like, oh, I don't have to try to understand why, it just is. Yeah. I'm so grateful for you. I'm really proud of you. I'm in awe of you. And I'm so grateful that you came on again.
We are so lucky. We're so damn lucky to have Miss Jordan Shomer, our resident astrologer. Please check her out. Hire her on every level.
Book readings like Alyssa. She did a mini one with me and Alyssa last time you were on. Like
Sinistry?
Or no. Sinistry reading with like you can do it with your husband, your wife, your best friend, anybody that
your
in
mom,
your life.
That's
your mom,
always fun.
Yes, I really want to do that. Mom, I know you're listening because she listens to every episode. Mom, let's do this.
Oh,
do it for me.
I love
like
your
Mother's Day.
parents.
That'd be so cute.
It's more my thing than hers, but she would indulge me, I feel like. But thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with my two favorite air signs.
Yay. I love you.
We're so at home.
Love you.
Wow. As always, she enthralls me and blows my mind, and I don't feel like ever cutting her off. So
She's an angel.
And she's an angel.
I love her so much. Please reach out to her for or in any way. Take her courses, reading, anything, because you're going to get your money's worth.
Read her
Trust
articles.
me.
Follow her on Instagram, if nothing else, for her amazing. The girl can dance. Have you seen her move?
I feel like I have, but this could be a fever dream.
No, I think you have, because she does in her stories, and also she's always loved dancing, but she's like got some moves. She can. Yeah, you just need to follow her for that alone.
Love it.
And then you'll just, come for the booty, leave with astrology.
Wait, why isn't that? Oh, well, I guess not astrology, but that's such a good tagline. Is that her tag?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh my God.
No, but I'm going to pitch it to her.
It's fucking amazing. Anywho, we love you guys. Follow us on YouTube at the SOS Pod, Instagram at the SOS Pod, YouTube SOS with Molly and Alyssa. Rate, review, it helps us reach out to more people.
Yes. I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Alyssa Rosano.
And here's to turning meltdowns into magic.